What happens when a public figure who has spent years building a carefully managed image suddenly loses one of the key people helping keep everything together behind the scenes? That question is at the center of a growing debate surrounding Meghan Markle. Over the past few years, Meghan and Prince Harry have remained among the most talked about figures in the world. Every interview, every business venture, every public appearance, and every reported change within their professional circle becomes headline news almost instantly. But now, a new narrative is emerging. According to royal commentators and media observers, Meghan may be facing one of the most challenging periods of her post-royal career. The reason? Reports and speculation suggest that an important behind-the-scenes figure, someone many believe played a major role in managing her public image, navigating media storms, and helping maintain strategic relationships, may no longer be in her corner. And that's where royal author Tom Bower enters the picture. For years, Bower has been one of Meghan's most outspoken critics. Unlike many commentators who focus on daily headlines, Bower often takes a broader view. He argues that long-term patterns tell a more revealing story than short-term successes. According to him, the real test of any public figure isn't how they perform when everything is going well. It's how they respond when the support system around them begins to crack. Now, Bower believes that moment may have arrived. But before jumping to conclusions, it's important to understand why this story has captured so much attention. Since stepping away from royal duties in 2020, Harry and Meghan have attempted to build a new life on their own terms. They signed major media deals, launched projects, appeared in high-profile interviews, and sought to establish themselves as influential voices in entertainment, philanthropy, and public discourse. At first, the momentum seemed unstoppable. The Oprah interview generated global headlines. Their documentaries attracted massive attention. Their names dominated conversations across continents. For supporters, this represented freedom and independence. For critics, it was the beginning of a carefully crafted branding strategy. Regardless of where people stood, one thing was undeniable: Harry and Meghan knew how to command attention. However, maintaining attention and maintaining momentum are not always the same thing. As the years passed, some projects exceeded expectations while others struggled to achieve the impact many had predicted. Several initiatives received mixed reviews. Public reactions became increasingly divided, and questions about long-term strategy began to emerge. This is where image management becomes crucial. Every major celebrity, politician, athlete, or public figure relies on advisors, strategists, publicists, and communications experts. These individuals rarely appear in front of cameras. Their names are often unknown to the public, yet their influence can be enormous. They help shape narratives. They manage crises. They anticipate controversies before they explode. They build relationships with journalists. They coordinate messaging. And perhaps most importantly, they help public figures avoid mistakes that can damage their reputation. When such individuals leave, observers pay attention. Sometimes these departures are routine. Sometimes they reflect changing priorities. And sometimes they raise questions about deeper issues behind the scenes. According to commentators discussing Meghan's current situation, the concern isn't simply about one person leaving. It's about what that departure could symbolize. Does it suggest growing challenges? Does it indicate strategic disagreements? Or is it merely another routine transition being exaggerated by the media? No one outside the inner circle can answer those questions with certainty. Yet uncertainty itself creates headlines. And headlines create narratives. Tom Bower understands this dynamic better than most. Throughout his work, he has argued that successful public figures depend heavily on the strength of their support networks. In his view, when those networks weaken, vulnerabilities become more visible. Critics of Meghan see recent developments as evidence supporting Bower's arguments. Supporters see the situation very differently. They argue that Meghan has faced relentless scrutiny from the moment she entered the royal spotlight. They believe critics often interpret ordinary professional changes as signs of crisis simply because negative stories generate more attention. After all, staff changes happen in every organization. Executives leave companies. Managers switch roles. Consultants move on to new clients. Publicists change teams. These developments occur every day without signaling disaster. So why is this story different? Because Meghan Markle isn't just another celebrity. She occupies a unique position at the intersection of royalty, entertainment, politics, media, and culture. Every move she makes attracts analysis. Every decision becomes a topic of debate. Every professional relationship invites speculation. That reality creates a fascinating question. If a key behind-the-scenes ally has indeed stepped away, what happens next? Can Meghan successfully navigate future challenges without that support? Will new advisors emerge to fill the gap? Could this transition actually strengthen her long-term strategy? Or does Tom Bower see something others have missed? As we explore this story, we'll examine Bower's arguments, the role of powerful behind-the-scenes operators, and the broader challenges facing public figures whose reputations depend on maintaining a delicate balance between perception and reality. Because sometimes the most important people in a story are the ones the public never sees. And when they disappear, the consequences can be far greater than anyone expected. For years, Tom Bower has been one of the most outspoken critics of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. While many royal commentators focus on daily headlines and short-term controversies, Bower has built his reputation by examining broader patterns and long-term developments. His argument has always been simple. The true strength of a public figure is not measured during moments of success, but during periods of pressure. According to Bower, Meghan's rise to international prominence was unlike anything the modern royal family had experienced before. Before joining the royal household, she was already known as an actress, activist, and public personality. However, her relationship with Prince Harry transformed her into a global figure almost overnight. Suddenly, every decision she made attracted worldwide attention. At first, public interest seemed overwhelmingly positive. Millions of people viewed Meghan as a symbol of change, modernization, and progress within an institution often criticized for being slow to adapt. Her supporters praised her confidence, intelligence, and willingness to challenge tradition. Media coverage was intense, but much of it focused on the excitement surrounding a new chapter for the royal family. However, Bower argues that this period also created enormous expectations. In his view, expectations can become a public figure's greatest asset and their greatest challenge at the same time. The higher the expectations, the harder it becomes to meet them consistently. Every success raises the bar even further. Every public appearance invites closer scrutiny. Every decision becomes subject to endless analysis. This is where Bower believes the story began to change. As time passed, disagreements, controversies, and public debates started to emerge. Stories about tensions within royal circles began appearing in newspapers and online publications. Supporters and critics became increasingly divided. What had once seemed like a straightforward success story gradually evolved into a much more complicated narrative. Bower has often argued that public perception is one of the most valuable forms of currency available to modern celebrities and public figures. Reputation influences opportunities. It affects partnerships, business deals, audience loyalty, and media coverage. Once public perception begins to shift, managing it becomes one of the most important challenges a person can face. According to his perspective, Meghan's post-royal journey represented a major test. When Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties, they entered an entirely different environment. No longer operating within the structure of the monarchy, they became responsible for building and maintaining their own brand. This created new opportunities, but also introduced new risks. At first, the transition appeared highly successful. Major interviews attracted huge audiences. Documentary projects generated international headlines. Business partnerships created excitement. Their names remained among the most recognizable in the world. For many observers, it seemed that Harry and Meghan had successfully transformed themselves into independent global influencers. But Bower believes that long-term success depends on more than visibility. Visibility can generate attention. Attention can generate headlines. But headlines alone do not guarantee lasting influence. This distinction forms the foundation of much of Bauer's criticism. He frequently argues that maintaining public trust requires consistent results over an extended period of time. In his view, public figures eventually reach a point where audiences expect more than powerful stories or compelling interviews. They expect tangible achievements that demonstrate credibility and effectiveness. Whether one agrees with this assessment or not, it helps explain why Bauer continues to focus on developments that many others might consider insignificant. For example, changes within a professional team may not seem particularly important to casual observers. Employees leave organizations every day. Advisors change roles. Consultants move on to new opportunities. Yet Bauer often views these developments through a different lens. He asks what such changes might reveal about the larger picture. Are they routine transitions? Are they signs of strategic disagreements? Or do they indicate deeper challenges behind the scenes? These questions have become especially relevant in recent months as speculation surrounding Meghan's professional network has increased. Many commentators believe that behind every successful public figure exists a team of specialists helping guide important decisions. These individuals often include communications experts, public relations professionals, media strategists, and trusted advisors. Their work is rarely visible to the public. Most people never learn their names. Yet their influence can be substantial. They help craft messaging. They manage relationships. They prepare responses during difficult situations. They identify risks before they become major problems. In many ways, they function as the support structure that allows public figures to focus on their public responsibilities. This is why reports of departures or changes within such teams frequently attract attention. Bauer argues that strong support networks play a critical role in maintaining stability, especially during periods of controversy. According to his perspective, when those networks change, public figures may become more vulnerable to criticism and unexpected challenges. Again, it is important to note that not everyone agrees with this interpretation. Supporters of Meghan argue that critics often exaggerate ordinary business decisions. They point out that staff turnover is common across industries and does not necessarily indicate instability. From their perspective, routine professional changes are being transformed into dramatic stories simply because Meghan remains a highly polarizing figure. There is certainly some truth to this argument. Modern media thrives on conflict. Stories involving disagreement, uncertainty, or controversy often attract more attention than stories about routine operations. As a result, even minor developments can become major headlines when they involve famous individuals. This reality creates an environment where perception sometimes becomes as important as reality itself. A simple personnel change can be interpreted in multiple ways depending on who is analyzing it. Supporters may view it as a normal transition. Critics may view it as evidence of larger problems. Neutral observers may remain uncertain. Yet regardless of interpretation, the discussion itself influences public perception. That is precisely why Bauer continues emphasizing these developments. He believes they offer clues about broader trends that might not be immediately obvious. According to his analysis, successful public figures rely heavily on consistency. Consistency builds trust. Trust builds influence. Influence creates opportunities. When consistency becomes difficult to maintain, challenges often follow. Whether Meghan is currently experiencing such a moment remains a matter of debate. Some analysts believe she is entering a difficult phase in which expectations remain high while public patience becomes increasingly limited. Others believe she is simply navigating the same ups and downs experienced by many high-profile personalities. The truth may lie somewhere between these positions. What cannot be denied is that Meghan Markle remains one of the most closely watched public figures in the world. Every project, every partnership, every public appearance, and every reported change continues generating intense discussion. For Tom Bauer, this attention represents more than celebrity gossip. He sees it as evidence that the larger story is still unfolding. In his view, the coming months could reveal whether Meghan can successfully adapt to changing circumstances and maintain her influence despite growing scrutiny. If she succeeds, critics may be forced to reconsider their assumptions. If she struggles, supporters may face difficult questions about the long-term sustainability of her strategy. Either way, Bauer believes a critical moment has arrived. And that belief explains why he continues watching every development so closely. As the debate grows louder and public interest remains strong, one thing is certain: the next chapter of Meghan Markle's story may prove to be one of the most important chapters yet. When people think about celebrities, royals, politicians, or powerful public figures, they usually focus on the faces they see on television, social media, magazine covers, and public events. What most people don't realize is that behind every major public figure stands an entire team of professionals whose job is to protect, guide, and strengthen that person's image. These individuals rarely receive public credit when things go well. But when things go wrong, their importance suddenly becomes obvious. This is why the recent discussion surrounding Meghan Markle and the alleged departure of a key behind-the-scenes figure has attracted so much attention. While many headlines focus on Meghan herself, experienced media observers understand that the real story may be happening away from the cameras. To understand why this matters, we first need to understand the role of what many insiders call a fixer. A fixer is not necessarily someone who covers up problems, as movies often portray. In the modern world of media and public relations, a fixer is usually a trusted advisor who helps solve problems before they become public disasters. Their responsibilities can be enormous. They monitor public sentiment. They communicate with journalists. They advise on interviews. They manage crisis situations. They coordinate messaging across multiple platforms. They help shape public narratives. And, perhaps most importantly, they act as a buffer between a public figure and the constant pressures of public life. For someone as famous as Meghan Markle, these responsibilities become even more significant. Every statement she makes is analyzed. Every photograph is examined. Every public appearance is discussed. Every business decision becomes a headline. Living under that level of scrutiny requires careful planning and strategic communication. This is where experienced advisors become invaluable. According to many public relations experts, one of the most difficult aspects of fame is maintaining consistency. Audiences expect public figures to remain authentic while also managing complex personal, professional, and media-related challenges. Finding the right balance is not easy. One poorly handled controversy can dominate headlines for weeks. One misunderstood comment can spark global debate. One unsuccessful project can create doubts about future ventures. Because of these risks, high-profile individuals often rely heavily on trusted professionals who understand the media landscape. These advisors don't simply react to problems. They anticipate them. They identify potential risks before they become major issues. They develop strategies to minimize damage. They help create opportunities for positive coverage. And they ensure that communication remains clear during periods of uncertainty. This is why changes within a professional team often attract significant attention. To the general public, such changes may appear routine. After all, people leave jobs every day. Executives resign. Managers move to different companies. Consultants accept new clients. Publicists pursue other opportunities. In most industries, these developments are considered normal. However, in the world of celebrity branding and public influence, timing matters. When a key figure departs during a period of public scrutiny, questions naturally arise. Was the departure planned? Were there disagreements about strategy? Did changing priorities play a role? Or is the situation being exaggerated by media speculation? The truth is that outsiders rarely know the complete story. Most professional relationships operate behind closed doors. The public sees only fragments of what happens. Yet, even limited information can fuel widespread discussion. This is particularly true in Meghan Markle's case. Few modern public figures generate as much debate as she does. Supporters view her as a resilient individual who has faced extraordinary challenges under intense public pressure. Critics argue that many of her difficulties stem from strategic decisions and public messaging choices. Because opinions remain deeply divided, almost every development becomes part of a larger narrative battle. And that's exactly why the idea of a secret fixer attracts so much interest. The phrase itself creates intrigue. It suggests the presence of someone working quietly behind the scenes, helping maintain stability while avoiding public attention. Whether such a description is entirely accurate is almost secondary. The perception alone is enough to generate headlines. Tom Bower has repeatedly emphasized the importance of strong support networks in public life. His argument is straightforward. No individual succeeds entirely alone. The most effective leaders, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and public figures surround themselves with talented advisors who help them navigate challenges. According to Bower, the strength of those relationships often determines how successfully a person handles periods of pressure. When support systems remain strong, crises can often be managed effectively. When those systems weaken, vulnerabilities become more visible. This doesn't necessarily mean disaster is inevitable. Far from it. History provides countless examples of public figures who successfully adapted after major team changes. Some even emerged stronger than before. New advisors can bring fresh perspectives. New strategies can create new opportunities. New partnerships can open unexpected doors. In some cases, a transition that initially appears negative eventually proves beneficial. However, transitions also create uncertainty. And uncertainty creates speculation. For media organizations, speculation generates clicks, views, and engagement. For commentators, it creates opportunities for analysis. For supporters and critics, it provides new material for ongoing debates. As a result, a single professional change can quickly evolve into a much larger story. This phenomenon reflects a broader reality of modern fame. Today's public figures are no longer judged solely on their achievements. They are also judged on perception, how effectively they communicate, how they respond to criticism, how they manage setbacks, how they maintain credibility. Every aspect contributes to the overall narrative. For Meghan, maintaining control of that narrative has become increasingly challenging. The media environment is more competitive than ever. Social media amplifies both praise and criticism instantly. Public attention shifts rapidly. Audience expectations continue evolving. In such an environment, experienced advisors can provide stability and direction. That's why discussions about behind-the-scenes personnel matter. They aren't merely about individual careers. They're about influence, strategy, and long-term positioning. They are about whether a public figure has the support structure necessary to navigate future challenges successfully. At the same time, it's important to recognize the limits of outside analysis. No commentator, journalist, or observer possesses complete knowledge of private professional relationships. Much of what appears in headlines is based on interpretation rather than confirmed fact. This distinction is crucial. Speculation should never be confused with certainty. Still, perception remains powerful. And in the world of public influence, perception often shapes reality. That may be the most important lesson of all. Whether Meghan's alleged loss of a key advisor proves significant or insignificant in the long run remains to be seen. What is certain is that people are paying attention. Supporters are watching. Critics are watching. Media organizations are watching. And commentators like Tom Bower are watching especially closely. Because if there is one thing history has repeatedly demonstrated, it is that the most important developments are not always the ones that happen in front of the cameras. Sometimes, the decisions made behind closed doors end up shaping the entire story. And if a trusted fixer has truly stepped away from Meghan's corner, the impact of that decision may only become clear in the months ahead. So, what do you think about this entire situation? Do you believe Tom Bower is right when he suggests that Meghan Markle may be facing one of the most challenging periods of her post-royal career? Or do you think the media is once again turning a routine professional change into a major controversy? And what about the so-called secret fixer? If a key advisor has truly stepped away, could that have a serious impact on Meghan's future projects and public image? Or is this simply another example of endless speculation surrounding one of the world's most talked-about public figures? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop your opinion in the comments section below and let us know where you stand. Do you support Meghan, agree with Tom Bower's criticism, or believe the truth lies somewhere in the middle? If you enjoyed this video and want more in-depth royal news, celebrity analysis, and behind-the-scenes stories that the mainstream media often overlooks, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all notifications so you never miss an update. Your support helps us continue creating detailed content just like this, and every like, comment, and share makes a huge difference. Thanks for watching, thanks for being part of the conversation, and we'll see you in the next video with another fascinating story that's making headlines around the world. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and take care.